and growing. And this is kind of one of the crafts that I want to talk about on a personal level. I've got 5 minutes, so basically the Southwest, one of the most Edwardian elements of the Southwest in the Edwardian period is the market gardening industry, and it's kind of two factors to combine to make it as important as it was, and that's the rail link, obviously the rail link from Devonport, Plymouth up to London, and of course the wet and warm climate, which is a real bane when you're down there and it's just day after day of rain. It can really get to you, but it's unbelievable. When the clouds clear and the sun comes out, it is the most gorgeous and stunning place. But it's that early warm weather and the wetness which made it obviously very profitable to grow the early varieties of all sorts of crops. We decided to go for strawberries. The Royal Sovereign was actually developed. It's a heritage breed. It's developed in the Tamar Valley, so we decided to go with Royal Sovereign strawberries. We also grew flowers, and I tried for some early potatoes as well. And that was actually one of the hardest aspects of the whole year, was the market gardening. It does really, you can't get the horse to do the hard work on the slopes, so you've got to do it all yourself. So there was a real insight into the tending and growing of crops. But all in all, Edwardian Farm has been a successful series, and it's got pretty much the same viewing figures for as Victorian Farm got. It's also ran for 12-hour programmes, which is, I think it's the biggest, apart from MasterChef. I think it's the biggest factual commission on BBC Two in the last 7 years. So it's kept those viewing numbers all the way through. So we're very proud of it, and the BBC, I think, are obviously slightly flummoxed as to why it's been so popular. I think an indication for me of wider or larger viewing figures is a different audience, a new audience. And one of the things I really take heart from is that people who weren't otherwise interested in history have come to the series, and lots of people stop me and say, oh, you know, you wouldn't think it, but I love that show, yeah, I watched every programme, they sort of say, and they think, oh, brilliant, that's great to know. And someone will come up and say, oh, little Johnny here, he doesn't normally watch history programmes, he's watched every programme. And even members of my own family who I know don't watch history programmes say, yeah, I quite like it actually. So I think the thing I take heart from that is new audiences. There are always new audiences out there. And a lot of the people that contact me, well, in terms of the success, I think obviously there's an escapism out there. There's a romanticism as well. I make no bones about the fact that I think I'm firmly entrenched in the very romantic attitude towards the countryside. And I make no bones about the fact that we do romanticise it, and that's part of British culture, I think. Along with that escapism as well, I think that's attracted people. But in that new audience, I think we've also got people from a very wide spectrum. You know, we've had people, farmers obviously, contact me, very supportive, allotment holders, smallholders, people interested in the crafts have got in touch, people interested in social history, in family history, and also people who are concerned about where their food comes from. And I just really want to finish up on a very personal note. Especially when we were making the Edwardian Farm, I think there was a very distinct sense of that crossroads that Britain had come to in terms of, and it's quite a long story, there's a long chronology to this, but I felt this especially when we were making the Edwardian Farm, and that crossroads where we're moving from the locally sourced, or we're in the final death throes, if you like, of the locally sourced. Production on-site using local materials for local audiences, and making that change, that transition to mass manufacture. And of course we've lost so much with that, not least the rural character and regionality, but we've lost an enormous number of skills. And that's the important thing for me today, is the skills that we've lost. And I was reading the literature from the period, a lot of commentary at the time was talking about this drift of people from the countryside to the towns. And these people were considered unskilled labourers. And that really, really hit home to me, because I thought many of the things that I'd tried to do actually involved an inordinate number of skills and also a lot of time and dedication. And I saw that in a lot of the craftspeople that we worked with throughout the series. Here I am hedging, which is one of my passions as well, along with field systems. You know, this is a resource that's there, we can grow it. It's one that suffered at the hands of barbed wire, suffered at the hands of tannalised imported cheap pine, it suffered at the hands of cast iron hurdles as well. You know, it was a way of stock-proofing that dates back hundreds of years. And it's these kind of skills, I feel very strongly, that are the skills we're going to need to look upon in these uncertain times. You know, we are confronted with a situation where we're not 100% sure where our food's going to come from. You know, we are staring down the barrel of increased food shortages. We're also looking at climate change. We're also looking at mass manufacture being essentially unsustainable because of fuel shortages. So for me, it's always been an opportunity here to look back at the past and to look back at these crafts and see what we can take for them for a brighter future. So thanks ever so much for listening today.